the voice memo I wasn't supposed to hear. The voice memo was only 11 seconds long, which made it worse. Long messages ramble, short ones confess. It arrived at 1:12 a.m., a gray bubble on the lock screen labeled simply from unknown. I tapped without thinking, the way you touch a hot pan even after you tell yourself not to. Breath first, then a woman's voice, not Layla's, steady as someone who had practiced. Tomorrow, room 605, use the service elevator, don't say my name. Then a soft, involuntary laugh, the kind that belongs to bodies more than sentences. The memo cut off as if clipped by a careful editor. I lay there with my phone still in my hand and watched the ceiling for instructions. Beside me, Leela slept on her back, palms open like a pilgrim. It would be easy to say I shook her awake and demanded proof. We were still the story we told our friends. I didn't. Instead, I stared at the small blue progress bar and replayed the 11 seconds until they changed shape. We don't keep secrets in our house, we curate them. That was the joke we made at a dinner party once, and it was true as long as the secrets were the decorative kind, surprise trips, wrapped books, the one good bottle waiting behind the cheap ones. The other kind, the kind that put room numbers in your ear, belonged to a different household, on a different planet with similar furniture. In the morning, Leela moved through the kitchen like choreography. She toasted bread I wouldn't eat and read a paragraph I wouldn't remember out loud from the essay she was assigned to teach. A line about choices being doors you only realize you've walked through when the room changes temperature. She kissed my cheek and turned the thermostat to a degree I preferred and said, "I'll be late tonight. Seniors. Their thesis drafts are an act of God." "Will you stop at the printer after?" I asked, careful like people are when they carry crystal. "Probably," she said. "They never have paper when they need it, and then they need it for everything." Room 605 lived between my ribs. The service elevator sat like a trap at the bottom of my spine. I do not believe in passive verbs. I followed the sentence where it led. At 10, I walked to the Sterling, a hotel that tried to sound like a family name. The lobby smelled like grapefruit and victory. Glass trays held apples people were too shy to take. The service elevator was tucked behind a plant that wanted more sun than the building allowed. My badge from work made me look official enough to stand near things I had no right to touch. I pressed 6. The doors opened on carpet that loved to muffle, a corridor that bent in the middle like a secret. I didn't plan what I would do if I found her. People who plan become speeches. I wanted to be a question. When I turned the bend, I saw 605 half open. A housekeeping cart sat guard across the hall. From inside, the soft sound of a hanger brushing a closet rod. Then a man's voice, warm with the satisfaction of appointments kept. "I thought you'd pick a different number." "My good luck number is taken," a woman said quietly. Not Leela, not anyone I knew. My lungs returned. And then the floor dropped again when the man spoke. Julian, the curator who had been orbiting the edge of our lives like a beautiful satellite with poor intentions. I had not heard him in months. Last we'd intersected, it ended with Leela choosing our home and me choosing to be the kind of man who doesn't require applause for not setting things on fire. We made rules. We kept them. We allowed for the possibility of relapse and the luxury of telling the truth first. Now Julian stood on the far side of a number I never wanted in my vocabulary. I didn't go in. I didn't leave. I walked away, slow, the way you back away from an animal you can't afford to startle. On the landing between floors, I called the only person who had ever taken my hand and put it on the right lever. Mara answered on the second ring like she'd been expecting a variation of this call since spring. "Tell me the least dramatic version," she said. I did. She listened, as always, like someone paid in secrets and allergic to lies. "Good," she said finally. "It's not Leela. Now decide whether you need to carry this home or leave it in the stairwell like an umbrella you don't want to be responsible for." "He's a hazard," I said. "If he's here again, he's nearby again." "Hazards don't disappear because you name them," she said. "But nomming them makes you brave in the right direction." "I could text him," I said, drunk on the fantasy of righteous economy. "You could," she said evenly, "and he'd reply with poetry about desire and exhibitions. Or you could text Layla and say, 'I want to see you at 6 at home with doors open.' Then you can do the work you signed up for. People who curate chaos always hope you'll curate some too." I left the hotel. I left the number and the corridor and the grapefruit lobby and the apples in the glass tray. I texted Leela, 6, home, lights on, no performance. She sent a heart and a period, which is her way of saying yes and meaning it. At 6, the apartment had that yellow light that forgives bad days. Leela set her bag down and leaned her hip against the counter like women in perfume ads with better intentions. "You look like you had to convince your body to bring itself home," she said softly. 11 seconds, I said. "A room number, a name I know, not yours." She absorbed the data the way she absorbs sudden weather. Shoulders back, breath slow. "Are you telling me or asking me?" "Both," I said. "I ran into Julian by not running into him. I want to talk about why he still shows up when I thought we'd finished inventing reasons." She nodded, eyes bright in that terrifying, beautiful way they get when she decides to be accountable instead of impressive. "He asked me to introduce him to one of my students' committees," she said. "He said he wanted to give to their small press. He said giving helps him remember he's part of a world that doesn't revolve around his rooms." I said I would think about it. I didn't text him back. "But someone did," I said, and told her the memo in 11 seconds. "It wasn't me," she said. "You know my voice, you know my verbs." "I do," I said. "I'm telling you because the building where he keeps his rehearsals still shares a wall with ours, even if only in my head." She stepped closer, so close the tips of our shoes touched. "Let me say something ugly and not have it ruin us," she said. "Okay." "Some days I miss how easy it was to be admired by someone who didn't know the price tag," she said. "Some days I want to be glass instead of wood. Some days I want to be looked at by an expensive gaze so I can feel expensive. I do not want him. I do not want to live in a catalog, but my brain has habits. I tell you because habits speak up when they smell an old room." "We can change the smell," I said. "We can paint. We can move furniture. We can open windows and let in the kind of attention that doesn't make us pay later." She smiled, tired and true. "Help me open a window." We didn't make love like it was a solution. We made it like it was a language we'd promised to keep speaking even when we felt unpracticed. I kissed the place below her ear where trust lives. She put her palm on my chest like she was taking attendance. We described and requested in small words. Here. More. Yes. Slow. The heat arrived as a consequence of care, not conquest. We paused twice to laugh. Once when I got my t-shirt stuck on my elbow and she freed me with her teeth. Once when the upstairs neighbor dropped something heavy and we both cursed devotion to old buildings. When we came apart together, it felt like the kind of landing pilots toast to quietly after passengers have already moved on with their lives. After, Leela lay with her cheek on my shoulder and said, "You can tell me when you're scared without auditioning for rage." "I'm scared," I said. "Not of you. Of how the world keeps handing you doors and telling you they lead to gratitude when they lead to rooms with mirrors and a couch and a man who calls his appetite taste." She kissed the hollow of my throat in 3 small, ceremonial presses. "I'm scared of getting bored and mistaking that for your failure," she said. "I want to be the kind of person who asks for novelty at home without humbling myself into silence." "Ask," I said. "I want you to watch me undress like we're strangers, and then ask me to tell you one true thing for each piece of clothing," she said, and laughed at herself shyly. "I want to write letters we never send, because unsent letters are the sexiest genre. I want to make dinner at midnight and skip dinner at 7 and eat in the bath and not apologize to anybody's calendar. I want to make a playlist that's only for the 10 minutes after we say yes and before we do anything about it." "We can do all of that," I said. "And we can put it on a list and leave the list on the fridge with the whale magnet, because I am a tired man and I forget joy unless it is properly labeled." She laughed, the kind with shoulders. "I love you like a wooden table," she said. "Reliable, beautiful with small scars, so good for writing on." We crafted our rules again. Not new, just freshly italicized. 1. If a stranger's voice ends up in our phone with a room number, it goes on the table between us before the room has a chance to be built. 2. If a hazard has a name, we say it out loud and refuse to make it poetry. 3. We practice a ritual every week where we both bring one dangerous idea we want to try and we make it safe enough to attempt without disguises. 4. We let boredom be a signal, not a verdict. A week later, on my way back from the post office, I saw Julian outside the Sterling, looking upward as if hotel windows owed him church. He wore the navy jacket and the posture of a man who thinks he's earned his indulgences. He hadn't seen me. I could have kept walking. I didn't. I stopped 3 feet away in his light. "Hello," I said. Not a challenge, not a handshake. He took me in with that assessing calm that used to wrinkle my day. "Evan," he said pleasantly, as if we'd split a bottle once and discussed art with civilized contempt. "You look finished." "Busy," I said. "We are busy making our house louder than your rooms." He half smiled. "Leela always did sound better when the room was full." "You don't get to say her name like you built it," I said. "She did that, I helped." He nodded, which irritated me by being gracious. "Fair," he said. "I'm not here for her." "I know," I said. "I heard." He winced at that, not shame exactly, but inconvenience. "I curate," he said, almost apologetic. "It's a job, not a moral." "It's neither," I said. "It's a hobby you turned into a diet. Enjoy it elsewhere. There are speeches you fantasize about, lines you polish in the shower like stones. I did not give one. I walked away and texted Leela a photograph of a lemon I bought from the corner grocer, the one with the leaves still attached. "For the window," I wrote. She sent me a picture of the bathtub half full, a glass of wine on the rim, a book face down and safe. "For the soundtrack," she wrote. "Hurry." That night we performed our new ritual, undressing like strangers, truths like currency. She took off her earrings and said, "I wanted to drop out of college sophomore year and move to Marseille for a chef who said he loved my knife skills." I unbuttoned my shirt and said, "I like the soft, overexposed parts of old 90s music videos because they make me feel like the world is trying to be gentle." She unzipped her skirt and said, "I think about kissing you in places where it would make us complicit with the city." I stepped out of my jeans and said, "I want to film you reading to me and then delete it after so we know it was only ever for us." We didn't record anything. We didn't write to each other. We did the small, deliberate things that are porn if you care about precision. Palms placed, breath borrowed then returned, names said at volumes that match the truth they contain. When we were done, we lay on our sides and looked like a unit designed to weather drafts. Weeks hummed. The 11 seconds faded until they were only a lesson about how much future can fit inside a small container. Mara texted sometimes, a meme that made no sense except as code for "you're still here, good." Once she sent a photo of a marquee, "Tonight, work in progress." Underneath she wrote, "We are always this." I wrote back, "But we're also the work." She replied with a heart and no period, which meant the feeling was not finished. At 1:12 a.m. now, when my phone blinks, it's usually the building's idiotic boiler or my own insomnia asking to be acknowledged. Sometimes Leela wakes just enough to roll toward me and tuck her knee over my thigh, a domestic anchor. Sometimes I wake her on purpose and ask for one sentence about a thing we haven't built yet. She says something like, "Let's eat oranges in the shower," or "Let's learn the constellation names we can see from our stupid city balcony." And I say, "Tomorrow," and mean it. We are not pure. That word is for water and curtains and people auditioning for sainthood. We are specific. We are answerable. We keep windows open and doors named and passwords shared and rituals ridiculous enough to be remembered. The voice memo lives in my deleted folder. I haven't emptied it. You don't need to erase the map to choose a different road. Tonight I will play a song to the end before I start anything important. She will read me a paragraph about a lover who didn't know how to apologize correctly but learned to ask better questions. We will move our couch an inch and discover a new angle of light. And if the world leaves another 11 seconds on our doorstep, we will answer together, with our house lights already on.